Happy World Suicide Prevention Day. Some days are better than others, and it's okay not to have everything figured out, but be strong. I'm proud of you, and keep going. You got this.
Napenda kushare umuhimu wa maisha tukiwa tunaelekea katika siku ya kimataifa ya kuprevent suicide. Umuhimu wa maisha kwa kijana au kwa mtu yoyote ni anaweza kuleta mabadiliko mbalimbali katika jamii yake na kuzunguka. Pia tuwe tunatabia kushare matatizo yanayotukumba ili kuweza kupunguza magonjwa ya afya ya akili ambayo yanaweza kutupelekea kujiua au kufanya kitu ambacho
People, my name is Paris, the president-elect of the Rotaract Club of Gashie. September is National Suicide Prevention Month. If you're out there, you're feeling a little lost or broken and it feels like all hope is gone, I am here to let you know that you are brave for not giving up. You are enough, you are loved, and you are not alone. We are here to listen.
I love you guys.
Maisha kana yale yale. Niongeze basi badilisha.
Mimi bana napenda hivyo hivyo. It was fun being with you tonight.
I appreciate you guys. Okay.
Keep the love spirit going on.
You know, sina mkana Felisi.
Moment of silence is good.
Yeah.
Are we doing?
Yeah, fun. I love you, me pia. Ikate.
Happy World Suicide Prevention Day. Some days are better than others, and it's okay not to have everything figured out, but be strong. I'm proud of you, and keep going. You got this.
Before you think of killing yourself,
You're thinking about killing yourself.
you're here to listen.
Just now you're here to listen.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry for Okay, Henry, are you there? Hello? Henry, can you hear me? On my side or? Oh, okay. Okay. Yes. Okay, sure.
Sorry, I saw someone playing a video. Where can I get it, please?
Okay, guys. Thank you to all who are joining right now. Karibuni sana. I don't know if we have all club representatives here. Kindly, if you're a club president, please raise your hand in the chat box. We see you. Oh, good. Glad to have you here, President Miraji Simba, President Brian Magana, President Simon Gichu. Welcome to this meeting, and all of you, you're also welcome. So yeah, yesterday was International Suicide Day, and I don't know how, if most of you usually take some of this, awareness days seriously, but what just a moment, guys. Sorry about that. So as I was saying, not most of us take this awareness day seriously. I mean, it's just a normal day for each one of us until you're caught up in whatever situation, in whatever challenge. And sometimes it's good to acknowledge some of these things that happen to us individually and in our society. So today, Peter Maingu, we are discussing about suicide prevention, and we'll have two great speakers today talk to us about, causes of suicide prevention and ways to, go around it, yeah? So let's start off by getting to know each other a bit, and I'd request the club presidents to introduce themselves and give a short introduction about their club, what they do, what they aspire to do. Yeah, so we can start off with Simon Gichu. Simon Gichu, welcome.
Thank you very much, Gladwell. Friends and family of Rotary, hello. Simon Gichu Nyambura. I'm the charter president, Rotary Club of Gashie. I'm glad to be here with you guys. What we do, we haven't really figured out what we do. We are a new club. Since we've been chartered, I think it's been a month. So Brian contacted me a while ago and he told me, because we are neighboring clubs and we are close to each other, we could partner and maybe become more friends. So we decided to join you on this noble cause. And as we support socialism, we are part of the community. We love being with our friends and spreading good vibes. That's why we decided to be here and maybe learn a few things about how we can help our friends who are in crisis and are thinking about maybe ending it, and maybe being there and holding their hand and supporting them. Nothing much to say.
Thank you, Simon. Next, we have Brian Magana. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Gladwell. Friends and family of Rotary, good evening. I hope every one of you is well. Brian Magana, the 8th president of the Rotaract Club of Kikuyu. Our club is under the district 9212 in Kenya. And the plans that we're having on 17th, it will be the World Cleanup Day. So we'll take part in that within our town. That's Kikuyu town. Yeah, so we have so many plans ahead, and I'm also looking forward to this conversation today about the suicide prevention and the causes. Keeping in mind, yesterday was the World Suicide Prevention Month, and we're hoping that we'll have a good discussion and also learn and help people out here who are depressed, because most young people are kind of depressed. So as Rotaractors, we should also look into how we make people have those safe spaces to express themselves, to share their issues, and to also give them an ear and a shoulder to lean on. So thank you, Gladwell, and also thank you to Simon for joining the call. Simon's club is Cashier, which is our neighboring club. So we're going to work together. Also work together with University of Dodoma, Rotaract, and the President Emmanuel. So yeah, looking forward to a fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian. That's my club president. I applaud you for the good work you're doing. Welcome so much, Simon, to the Rotaract Club. And let's have Miraji Simba give us what he has. Welcome, Miraji.
Thank you, Glad. Good evening, everyone. My name is Miraj. I'm from Rotary Club of Bahari Youth. I'm the charter president. Our district is 9214 in Tanzania, basically. What we do right now, since it's a new club, it's just been a month since we've been chartered, but we're working with sponsoring Rotary Club on a youth program. We are looking forward to impact a particular graduate student to expose them to the experience or what are likely to incur for their career development. That's what we're trying to do right now. Thank you, Gladney.
Okay, thank you, Miraji. You're also welcome to the Rotaract Club of 9214. Well, guys, I have a question. I don't know who will be free to just express themselves and tell us, have you ever thought of harming yourself or committing suicide? It doesn't have to be killing yourself, but harming yourself. Who has ever been in that situation? You can say it out loud through your audio, or you can send an in-call message.
Glad if I can speak.
Yeah, sure, you can speak.
Well, I've joined in late, a little bit kidogo. My name is Emmanuel Martin, the club president of Rock Judo, aka Last Bonds.
Okay.
I'm very glad for everyone that joined this call. And I've already seen our speakers all in this call. And I would love to say that thank you, first of all. But one of our speaker, Dr. Isaac Roge Malila, won't be, after speaking, he has a lot of things to do. So he will like leave the call. So don't be offended, but we should take note of what he says. In Swahili tunasema ana madini ya kutosha. He has a lot to say. Thank you.
Okay, Manuel, roger that. Maybe we can give him, an earlier time to speak to us before he leaves. We are eager to hear from him and what he has to say and his words of encouragement for us. So, Emmanuel, maybe you can ask him what time he'll be available on call, from which time to which time, so that we can plan this meeting, in accordance to what we have for us guys today. Thank you. So, guys, mnaogopa kusema. Have you ever thought of harming yourself, or when you're angry or sad or something has happened to you, do you just think this is enough for me? I can't do this anymore. I want to hear you guys' opinion, or even your friends. Have you ever encountered a friend who, is at the breaking point of their life, is really feeling like anataka kumaliza maisha yake? I hope District 9214 mnaelewa Kiswahili. Rotaract Club of Ethiopia. Is there anyone? Abugida, sorry. Rotaract Club of Abugida. Is anyone there? Hello. Meanwhile, guys, tell me if you've had such an experience, even if it's not you.
Okay. Hello. Can you hear me?
Hi, it's Adale.
Hi. Hello. My name is Adala Gashaw. I am this year's International Service Director. And today I am representing Rotaract Club of Abugida from Ethiopia. I just want to give my opinion on this matter. Like, there are different issues that makes us angry and go mad, but putting ourselves in danger, I don't know, killing ourselves is not an option, At the end of the day, that anger, that madness will go away. So I have experience from my friend. She has difficult things in her life, with her school, with her family, and she tried to kill herself like many times. But we helped her and we took her to the psychiatrist, and she's feeling good now. This is what I want to share. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sildale. Thank you for joining. Guys, are you afraid of speaking out? It's okay. You don't have to say it, but maybe then you can give us maybe some of the reasons you might think that can lead someone to committing suicide. You can either unmute your audio or you can type in the in-call message. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, Gladwell.
Hi, John.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
How are you?
Good.
Yeah, let me go first.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm John Mitiriri. I'm the president, Rotary Club of Kikuyu. I'm very thankful for the invitation from my colleague and Rotaract president, Brian. Yes, back to your question. Recently, actually, apparently it was 2 weeks ago, we were dealing with an issue of another Rotaractor, I don't want to mention the club, who was depressed enough, think lack of job, mounting bills, and this Rotaractor was threatening to commit suicide. Yes, we handled the issue with a lot of wisdom, but yes, just getting to your question is that these issues are real. They're happening to people we know, and I'm sure that everybody on call, in one way or the other, they could be affected with such a situation. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Oh, wow. I hadn't recognized we have our Rotary President, Rotary Club of Kikuyu, President John. Thank you so much for joining us, and we acknowledge you tonight. Thank you for honoring the invitation. So,
Shukran. I'm happy and looking forward to learning.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Hello.
Who was speaking? Hi, Joyce.
Hi, Gradwell.
How are you?
Hello. Hi, every friends of Rotaract, Rotary, and the whole family. My name is Joyce, Community Service Director, Kikuyu. And this is a very nice and a very crucial topic, because in our lives there is a lot of issues which are affecting us. That is mental health issues, and concerning even suicidal, there's a lot of cases that are really happening on that. For me, I always believe that everybody has ever had such a moment, that lower moment that you feel everything doesn't count, or whatever that you have been doing is it's no longer count, that it doesn't work. We always feel that moment, but it's very okay to know that it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to stay unokay. For me, I deal with young people, adolescent and young people. And before I joined that profession, I didn't know much that a lot can really outburn you. Like you can really get a lot of outburn if you don't get regular debriefings. And I also realized that there's so many young people are going through a lot of mental health issues. That is when one is young, there's a lot of people are really expecting a lot from you. So and sometimes I've really even solved a lot of suicidal cases where a young person who wanted to commit suicide just because his father was not able to provide school fees. And it's really okay. Like we can really have this discussion every day, every time. Like we incorporate it becomes like our everyday talkings, because people feel like so shy, like to say that yes, there was a time I felt bad and I feel like quitting everything and felt like suicide is the only option. It's very okay to feel that, but it's also okay like when you realize that you are not well and you need that help. Thank you.
Wow, Joyce, thank you so much. That was an inspiring message. Joyce, continue with the good work, continue helping our teens, our youths, and which is true, most preteens and teen suicide is mostly caused none other than, relationships, school, peer pressure. And nowadays, since we're into so much digitization, social media has brought a lot with it. You see somebody looking good on Instagram, making it in life, and you're at the same age, and for you things are not going well for you, and you feel like, what's my purpose in this world? What's my star? Like, what was I created to do? You just feel like you don't have anything to offer the world. And I feel like most of us we've been in that situation. I myself have, seeing, some of my friends making it, and I'm like, wow, okay. So anyway, when am I gonna get there? What's wrong with me? Why am I struggling to, to advance that much? But you really don't know how the person did it, what the person is going through. And it's always a journey. Every step that you take, you appreciate yourself. Every small achievement, you should congratulate yourself. You should tell yourself, you got this journey is only yours. It's only yours in God. So let me not talk much. So we can go ahead and have our first guest speaker. Just a moment. Can we have Dr. Isaac in the room? Welcome so much to this virtual meeting. Thank you for acknowledging our invitation to talk to us. We're really eager to hear from you. So welcome, Dr. Isaac.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Isaac Christopher Rugemalila. I am a medical doctor and addiction specialist, and currently I'm taking my residency in psychiatry. By the way, just next week I'm going to be done with the course, so I'm a little bit excited. I work in Tanzania with the Ministry of Health, and I've been working with people having mental disorder for like 5 years now, and I've been appreciating people who are coming with suicidality. Either they have been attempting or others they did commit suicide. So suicide is real, and I think is one of the main area we need to really strengthen and have enough knowledge and experience to know how does suicide come about, and how does it present, and how does it affect especially young people. So this topic, when I heard about, I received invitation from Emmanuel. I could not hesitate, because we know this week it's a week we talk about suicide prevention worldwide, and we have been doing some activities in my country here, trying to raise awareness about suicide and suicide prevention. Anyways, first I'm going to talk very few things, and I think they're going to be helpful. And we are going to see what does suicide mean, and we're going to also see the public perspective of suicide and medical perspective of suicide. Also, we're going to explore the comorbidities and mortality involving suicide, the risk, and touch a little bit on prevention mechanism for people who are having suicide or experiencing suicide. So, what is suicide? There are two terms I will need to explain early before we go further. There is suicide and there is parasuicide. Suicide is the action whereby an individual purposely or intentionally inflict harmful, injurious, what I can say, individual tries to harm himself so that he can die, or so that she can die. So when we're looking at people and say this person is having suicide, he had a suicide, then we would try to see the intent behind the action. But a person who is experiencing or was passed through parasuicide, they do commit an injurious act to themselves, but the intent is not there. So there are some people who have been committing parasuicide, and there are some people who have been trying to commit suicide, and the difference is the intent. But all actions are harmful to themselves, and they might lead to death. So when we're talking about suicide, there are like stages. The first stage is suicide ideation, whereby the person is having a thought of committing an injurious act to himself or herself with the intent of death. And then there is suicide attempt, whereby the person has accomplished to impose an injurious act to himself or herself, but could not achieve the target, or could not inflict death to himself or herself. And then we have suicide itself, whereby the person has attempted and complete the action, having death. And then we have aborted suicide, whereby in the process of committing suicide, it happens that the person decided not to continue and avert the death. So in the public perspective, many people think suicide is just a behavior. A person decides to commit suicide for a number of reasons. And it might be very true, but from the medical perspective, when we're talking about suicide, we are talking suicide at the level of the behavior, but also at the level of neurobiology, or at the level of biology. What does it mean? It means most of the people who are committing suicide already they have experienced a neurobiological change in their brains, and these intensify their thoughts to commit suicide. So it doesn't only be translated as a behavior, but it goes further to the biological makeup of a person, of an individual. I'll try to explain further on that, but the recent data, I think, correlate with the data from 2018 from WHO, and it reports every 40 seconds, there's a person who has attempted and completed suicide. And from every one suicide that has been completed, there are other 20 attempts that have failed to complete the suicide. So you can see the magnitude is very significant. So roughly around 700,000 people in a year, they will die because of suicide. So there are a lot of risk factors, but I'll try to dwell on the few risk factors of why people would find themselves in a situation where they are pushed to commit suicide. One of the reasons is age. So most of the suicide have been found to have happening to people of the age 15, 14, up to 24, 26, 29. So a lot of suicide have been happening in that age, and this is the age for adolescent, for young adults. And then there's another group of people who are committing suicide, have been found to have a high prevalence of suicide. This is the group between 40 years of age up to 59 of age, the midlife crisis. They call the midlife crisis because a lot of things are happening around this age. So if I'm trying to scrutinize the age in this group, and I think all of us, we are falling under the age of teen to young adulthood. So maybe all of us are at risk, high risk of committing suicide compared to other cohorts. And the second reason why people are committing suicide is mental health disorders. And a lot of studies have tried to describe the number, but the depression have been found to have higher contribution comparing to other mental health disorders. So among the age of the age that I'm trying to stipulate, you might find that 60% of the people committing suicide at that age is because of having depression. And when I'm talking about depression, it's not depressive symptoms only, but depression as a mental disorder, having a major depressive disorder. 60 to 95% other studies are trying to show, to report those findings. And so depression, major depressive disorder, is one of the key mental health disorders that is directly linking to committing suicide. And then we are having other mental disorders like bipolar, if you ever heard of that. And bipolar is a mental condition whereby the person will have like mood lability or mood swings. At this point of time, he is down. At another point of time, is high or is hyperactive. So they say the person is rotating between having depression and having mania. So mania is that kind of it's a condition where the person is hyperactive, is very happy about his life and about everything. And then within a minute or days, you'll find this person is very down, experiencing depressive symptoms, doesn't want to live anymore. is very sad. So bipolar also has been contributing significantly to committing suicide, especially when the person is experiencing the depression. And then we have psychotic symptoms, disorders like schizophrenia, if you've ever heard about it. In Tanzania, schizophrenia, we have our own, the public has its own name to people who experience schizophrenia. They are called vichaa. I don't know about Kenya and other places. So people having schizophrenia, most of these people, we are seeing them in the streets. They're collecting garbages. They are dirty. They are homeless. They don't have anywhere to live. They're just roaming around the street. So most of these people are suffering from schizophrenia. And the risk of committing suicide to these people is as well very significant. And then we have other mental conditions. I think your time is not enough to mention all of them. But there's a bit a difference between people who are experiencing depression and those who are experiencing schizophrenia, and those who are experiencing mania or bipolar in committing suicide. So you'll find that the people who are committing suicide, but the death has been planned for a very long time, and even the mechanism they use to commit suicide is very attention-seeking. I can say they're like not aggressive mechanism. Most of these people will be suffering from depression and bipolar somehow, especially when they are experiencing the phase of depression. But people who are having mania, they might commit suicide, but the way they are committing suicide is a bit different. So mania also has this tendency to make somebody feel that he has a special power or is a special person. He can do some magic things. So he believes that, and some people find themselves throwing themselves off the stories, thinking maybe they will fly. So they do that, and then they die. They crush themselves, they die, and then it's a way of translating it as a suicide. Or other people, they will just go in the middle of the road, and then try to see if the car will hit them, and then they will die, or they'll have some magical power to evade the death, and then they die. But a lot of people who are in mania, who have committed suicide in that way, are not so much pronounced in the number of people who have committed suicide, because they're not so much presented. And then we have schizophrenia. Schizophrenia, these are the person who commit suicide without thinking. And most of the time, they commit suicide in a very aggressive way. So I've seen a couple of them, and you might find them, they maybe take a knife and chop their throat, or they just stab themselves, or they just do something without even thinking. So the way they commit suicide is very, very brutal. So then you might find these people, most of them, they have been suffering with psychotic disorders. So you might see, in a mental health perspective, you might see suicide from all those angles. Between men and women, men tend to commit suicide more than women, and the ratio is 4-to-1. So 4 men will commit suicide, and 1 woman will die because of suicide. So you might find that a lot of men commit suicide more than females, but a lot of females have attempted to commit suicide than men. So a lot of women will commit suicide, will attempt to commit suicide, but at the same time not having aborted suicide, like not incur death from what they did. And you might find that the men would use brutal mechanisms of committing suicide than female. So it's not likely to find a woman committing suicide by hanging herself, or a woman committing suicide by stabbing herself, or maybe throw herself out of the maybe story. But men do that. Or you find men, they shoot themselves with guns. They use some brutal mechanism. And this has been explained that female tend to use a bit of soft mechanism because most of the time they try to do something to seek attention, but not real trying to commit suicide. But eventually they die from what they have been attempted to do. So that is mental disorder. Another major risk factor is rational thinking. And this can be so much reflected to adolescents and young adults, rational thinking. Some people, they have irrational thinking about death or about committing suicide. Maybe they think when they do commit suicide, they won't die, somebody is going to come and help them. Or maybe they think maybe they're trying to show other people how much they are hurt or how much they are passing through, or they are trying to imitate other people, what they're doing. So they find themselves in a way of doing that, they commit suicide. So we find a person maybe taking tablets, but the intention there is not to die, but trying to assure you that maybe he's mad at you, or he's or she's not well. She just needs that some attention, and if you are not giving her attention, then she tries to show you she's ready to destroy her life rather than be alive if she's not going to get what she needs, and then eventually they die. So this can be explained by irrational thinking. You don't have a good reason to commit suicide, but people do that, and a lot of young people find themselves doing this. And I think it was last year there was a big debate on how social media contributes to death, to suicide, and one of the finding was social media somehow have demonstrated some of the action that they lead to suicide. So you might find that young people without rational thinking, they'll try to imitate what they see from social medias, and then eventually commit suicide. Yeah, I remember there was, I think it was BBC reported one of the adolescent who was demonstrating how to commit suicide, and he was live. And there is one of the adolescents who was watching that, and I don't think if it was he or she, I don't remember correctly, but he imitated that and committed suicide. So you might find how social media might really influence the suicide, the suicidality. The other thing is intent. So people who are committing suicide with the intent of dying, they will achieve, they will have achieved suicide. What I'm trying to say here is, as I explained, there are some people who are not real intending to do that, as a case of people who have para-suicide. They are not intending to do that, but eventually when they do something, they find themselves in a very bad situation, and most of them, they are found dead. So the intent also might increase the risk of suicide. And then we have the plan. If you find a person is speaking about committing suicide, and maybe he's owning a gun, or he's speaking about suicide, and then you find himself or herself has tools to commit suicide, then the risk of this person to die is very, very high. So you're not supposed to take granted to finding a person who's talking about committing suicide, and then he's owning a gun, or he's having a knife or a rope. He has already bought a rope and said, I'm going to commit suicide. You need to really intervene immediately. And then last one but not least, least but not last, is alcohol and drug use. People who are using drugs, they have almost 30% of reaching suicide. And alcohol has been a leading drug in causing suicide. So, and this is because when a person is taking drugs, be it alcohol or other drugs like opioids, stimulants like cocaine, their cognitive functions are inhibited. Like when they're trying to do that, they can't really have rational thinking of what they're doing. So their cognition is impaired, so they might find themselves in a very bad situation, and most of them, they do die. So the use of alcohol and drugs increases the risk of suicide. But also the use of alcohol and drugs increases the risk of mental disorders, especially depression, schizophrenia. So this person, along the way of using alcohol, he might find himself having mental disorder. Studies are showing that people who are using drugs, almost 50% they'll suffer from depression. Almost 20% they'll suffer from bipolar disorder. And a lot of them, they'll suffer with other psychotic disorders. So there's a bidirectional in using drugs with suicidality. First, the use itself, but also when you are thinking of committing suicide, then you have a high chance of completing suicide if you are under the influence of drugs. So these are some of the risks, and there are other risks, I think, but these one are very prominent in causing the risk of suicide. So what happens biologically? What happens behaviorally first? Behaviorally is people commit suicide because they don't have enough coping mechanism to what is going on around them. Because I didn't say it first, and I think it had to be my opening statement, that suicide is a crisis. It's a life crisis. When you find a person having suicide ideation, or have attempted suicide, or has committed and completed suicide, it's because he or she has been passing through life crisis. So what does life crisis mean? Life crisis is just a short period of time whereby a person experiences an intense adverse situation, and at that particular point of time, he doesn't have, or he has already replenished the resources to tackle that challenges or those problems. So he is experiencing crisis, and he doesn't have any way to solve that kind of a situation. But this period of suicide, of crisis, is very short, ranging from 30 minutes, maybe to 1 or 2 hours. So if this person is intervened at that particular point of time, then the likelihood of committing suicide is very, very low. But if there's no intervention at this period of time, then you find most of these people do commit suicide. So it's a life crisis, and when we are trying to read about suicide and see the way of helping people who are in this kind of situation, we are taking an idea of Chinese. Chinese have this theory about life crisis. They say it's like they are taking an example of a coin, that the other side of the coin is this person is experiencing crisis, but the other side of the coin is this is an opportunity to help this person coming out from all these challenges or he's facing. So when you see a person trying to commit suicide or has committed suicide, there's a missed chance that we could help this person and help him or her solve the problems she's facing. So we can translate the suicide is the missed chance that we missed to help this person, or the person has failed to help himself or herself. Now, so behaviorally is the person has not been able to have enough coping skills for the challenge he or she is facing, but biologically, this person has passed through a condition that has led to the depletion of some of the, we call them neurotransmitters, that are very important in helping us to survive in our daily living. And one of the most studied neurotransmitters that is directly associated with the suicide is called serotonin. So it's not that the person has committed suicide only, but in the brain or in his body, there is reduced level of serotonin. Serotonin, they call it in a layman language a happy pill. It's a happy pill. So if the serotonin is depleted in your body, then it's very likely to find yourself very sad most of the time and thinking also of committing suicide. So there are a lot of causes that are causing this serotonin to go down, but one of it is the stress we are facing. They might cause some changes in the brain and reduce the serotonin. So the person who has low serotonin has high chance of committing suicide rather than the person who talks about suicide but the serotonin and the adequate level. So if you look closely, you will find that these people, most of the people who have committed suicide, they are already sick in their mind. They are already sick in their body. They have depleted serotonin. So all other risk factors, they are just trying to push them to complete, just push them to do the suicide. But the big reason here is in their brain, there is low level of serotonin. So looking on suicide, you might put a lot of weight on biological reason rather than the behavioral reason. People are not just committing suicide; it's because they are sick in their mind, their brains, in their body, and other risk factors. They are just contributing. They are just fueling the situation, and then they find themselves committing suicide. So that's how it is. But also, some people do commit suicide, but in another translation, people may not commit suicide but commit homicide. What does homicide mean? It means the person, instead of directing the intent of death on himself or herself, these people direct the intent of death to others. So a lot of people a significant number of people who do homicide is just the other way of committing suicide. So find a person killing another person, maybe it's just a chance that he had committed suicide himself and die. Okay, so how do we prevent suicide? First and foremost is we should have in any other possible way, we should make sure we have a good mental health. There are a lot of things that might compromise our mental health, but by anyhow, we should make sure we maintain and we always improve our wellness, we always improve our mental health. Having a good mental health is one of the biggest factors that might protect us from having committed suicide. So this goes also to people who are around us. If we do suspect that our relatives, our friends, they are suffering or they have symptoms that are showing maybe they are not in a good terms with themselves, then it's the moment to intervene. Don't wait for a person to get into crisis and then find yourself receiving the news that a person has committed suicide. But when you suspect this person doesn't have he's suffering from a situation where his mental health is in trouble, then it's the right point to intervene. The second way we can do to prevent suicide is explore more ways of coping with stresses that we are facing in life. I know we have a lot of stresses, especially young people and adolescents. They are suffering with a lot of stresses, facing a lot of stresses, but at the same time, they have few ways to help themselves face the challenges and resolve them. But we need to learn how to face our challenges and how to solve our challenges. And this might put us in a position where we might not find ourselves in such a situation. The other way is to make sure the services that people need to help themselves from committing suicide are available. Services like mental health services, counseling services, they should be around, they should be there. And outreach services, like what you're doing here is an outreach program. It's like an outreach program. You are reaching to people, teaching them about suicide, increasing their awareness and knowledge. So in one way or another, this might build some coping mechanism to people when they are passing through stresses and know how to deal with them. So those three mechanisms or ways have been mostly used to prevent suicide. Because even a very consultant psychiatrist or psychologist cannot predict suicide. We just we do see symptoms. We might have appreciate some signs and say, okay, maybe this person is at risk of committing suicide. But in reality, we really don't know when this person is going to commit suicide. So each and every time you have to be alert. I have I have two occasions where I can say close people who are very close to me, they committed suicide, and one of them was when I was in secondary school. We were approaching, we were closing our school and going for, it was the last day we were going to holiday, and then in the morning we were called to assemble, we assembled, and then our headmaster announced the death of our fellow student, and he was in my class, and they found him hanging himself at the corner of the classroom, and we knew this person. He was there, and he was a very calm person, talking to everybody. He committed suicide. Recently, it was this year, I think around March, around February, we were chatting in our subgroup with my fellow students where we studied together in secondary school. So we were chatting, and then around 1, I was awake. Around 1, I saw him post voice notes. And then, of course, I was doing my other stuff, and I could not listen to them. But after like 5 minutes, he deleted all of them. And I think one of the colleagues heard what this person was trying to communicate to us, and he was crying. And the guy asked him, like, hey, it seems that when you're drunk, you just cry and you don't tell us nothing. So he just made a joke like that. And that was 1 a.m. in the morning. And around 8 a.m. in the morning, we had a news that our fellow died, committed suicide. And this is the person I talked with him 1 month ago. He was passing through some challenges, and within that time, I tried to give some mental health perspective and trying to give some how you can prevent suicide. And he was in there. And this, like 1 month before he committed suicide, he had a quarrel with another fellow. And I called them inbox and I tried to resolve the situation. And I thought maybe this person is passing through some mental stresses, and I tried to intervene, but eventually this person committed suicide. It didn't come to me that this person would commit suicide. So we cannot predict suicide. The best way we can do is to prevent suicide. You cannot say that I'm going to stop this. It's very, very challenging. And it has to be in our mind that if a person commits suicide, commit failed suicide at one point of time, he has a higher chance to commit completed suicide at another time when he tries to commit suicide. So most of people who do the repeated suicide, they will die. 50% of them, they will have successful suicide. When he commits third time, 75% of them, they will die. So there is a very, very high chance that these people are trying to commit suicide, they will successfully commit suicide and die. So the best way is to make sure we do prevent suicide. How do we prevent? Make sure we know the early signs of mental health problems and intervene. Make sure we ourselves develop our coping skills or help others to develop coping skills to challenges of life and how to solve them. And third, maybe in our position also, as what we are doing now, we can have more sessions, do a lot of maybe seminars, talk about suicide, talk about stress management, and maybe help to contribute in prevention of suicide. Yeah, so I think that's what I wanted to share with you. And yeah, maybe if you have some questions, I'll be here for maybe 5 minutes to respond to them, because I have other stuff to do, or maybe other time when you Emmanuel will share with you my number, my phone number, and then you can communicate in WhatsApp. And yeah, so thank you very much. Hello. So if you have a question, please you can ask so that I can hear you and I'll respond.
Okay, hello.
Hello.
I was asking, you talk about a lot of things and I learned a lot, but I was thinking while you're speaking, there's this tendency of bullying nowadays. So is bullying anyhow related to suicide?
Okay. Yeah. Bullying has been related to suicide, to especially to children and adolescents. Yeah, because there's various ways of bullying, and some of the bullying involves physical assault. Some of the bullying involves sexual assault, and you might find that it might bring an impact to the victim. And if they have other risk factors, like maybe they've been experiencing this abuse for a very long time, and they are maybe suffering with the mental disorders, the likelihood of committing suicide is very high. And maybe if they know how to commit suicide, they are very exposed of how they can do and commit and kill themselves or injure themselves, then there's a higher chance of committing suicide. So bullying as it is, it does not really directly associated with the suicide, but with other risk factors, the rate of committing suicide is very, very high. Mariam.
Okay, I get it, but I'm still on bullying. So nowadays people commit suicide, and then after they done investigation, they said it's a result of bullying. So is it okay for somebody to say bullying was the reason for suicide, or it's just a thing people put there to cover up the suicide?
Okay. So I understand you, and I agree with you. And bullying falls into it's a form of abuse. It's a form of abuse, and I think a lot of people who are experiencing bullying, they do also experience verbal abuse, emotional abuse, others physical abuse, and abuse is one of the key factor into having mental disorders. It's a very bad situation to experience abuse. You might find yourself in a very bad situation. You might still am insisting. If this person is having other risk factors, then the likelihood of him or her to commit suicide is very high. Okay, you have this person, this child is experiencing abuse, and she or she doesn't know about to commit suicide because maybe of how she has been taught in religious teachings or how she experienced the family dynamics and of how to handle a situation like that. Then she's not even drinking. She doesn't have a mental disorder. She have a good family support. Very unlikely for this child to commit suicide. But if she's exposed to mechanisms and then she's aware of how to commit suicide, then the likelihood is very high. So it's not real directly to committing suicide, but still it might influence a lot of people who have other risk to commit suicide.
I understand now.
Yeah. Thank you. Another question? Oh, okay. So there is one of the studies. There are some studies that has compared a twin brothers or twin siblings who have found to have maybe one of the sibling committed suicide and the other committed suicide, and it has found that almost 50% of siblings that have committed suicide, you'll find the other sibling from twins has also committed suicide. And they compare this study to other study where a person, maybe a child has been adopted to a family where they have experiencing suicide, and that child did not commit suicide. Those children did not commit suicide. So they came to an inconclusive remark that maybe suicide is also genetically influenced. Like people who are committing suicide, maybe the genetic vulnerability into committing suicide. And of course, most of the diseases, like mental diseases, they do have genetic vulnerability into experiencing maybe severe mental disorder, which is so much associated with the suicide. So we can say in a significant number of people, there is a genetic makeup that this person will commit suicide. But at the same time, genetics themselves, they are not enough to say to conclude that okay, if your genes are very vulnerable to suicide, then you will commit suicide. The chances are very low. But the environmental risk factors, the factors outside the genes, they contribute a lot into determining if this person will commit suicide or not. And now people are moving into epigenetic studies, how the environment influence the genes and how these people would at the end of the time experience these adverse conditions from the environment influence. So it's not only the genes makeup, but if a person is subjected to an environmental risk with the same threshold, and he doesn't have genetic, he's not having genetic susceptibility to having suicide, and another person is already subjecting to the genetic vulnerability, then maybe the person with the genetic vulnerability will be very likely to commit suicide than the other. So that can also explain that there's genetic influence in committing suicide, but we cannot generalize that all people who are committing suicide, they have genetic vulnerability. Have I tried to answer your question? Okay. Yeah. That's very true. Heartbreaking. Very true. Because it involves a lot of emotion, and the issue here is not really the heartbreaking. The issue here is how are you capable enough to face the heartbreaking? That's the issue. Because you cannot really prevent heartbreaking. It will just come in one way or another. You cannot really prevent stress. They are there. They are part of our lives. But how are you equipped to face the challenge and deal with the stresses, with the heartbreaking is an issue. So if your coping skills are very low, then you are likely to suffer a lot of consequences, including suicide. So we can also not really conclude that heartbreaking contributes directly to suicide, but also it depends with your coping skills. There are other people, they are experiencing heartbreaks, but each heartbreak has been building him or her to face more challenges, and they become very strong at the end of the day. But so it really depends with your, when you assess the preventive, when you assess the capital to resolve the challenges we are facing in life, we also include things like knowledge, your personal knowledge about life. We also include the social support from your family, support from the friends and people who are close to you. We also include things like maybe yourself satisfying, like you have maybe your job, so you know how to take care of yourself. You have social income. There's a lot of issues that are involved in there. So it's not only directly saying this factor will lead to suicide, but there are other things that are involved. The issue is, do you have enough coping skills? If you have a challenge, maybe if you have a breakup, can you talk to somebody else and maybe help you out? Can your family understand you and maybe know that you are passing through difficulties and maybe help you out? Can your friends or can you yourself know that you're passing through this and find help? So it's a dynamic of coping skills rather than directly causing causing harm to yourself. That's why we insist we should make sure we learn about coping skills to different stages of life, and equip ourselves to any challenge that is going to face us, and make sure we are able to resolve them. So places like this help you to have knowledge and build your coping skills. But if you don't have that, then there's a big likelihood that you might suffer some consequences, including suicide.
Thank you so much, Dr. Isaac, for that knowledgeable, informative, and wonderful session that you've just given us. it's a mind opener. Personally, I didn't know there were several types of people going through suicide. You know, the neurobiological part got me. I didn't know sometimes maybe my body can affect, my brain can affect, my cognitive functions. And that is something, something very crucial and serious to look at. So I think, Dr. Isaac, thank you for that. We still have another session with Winnie. Time is running out on our side. So I think if you have any other questions, you can put them in the in-call messages, and I think Winnie can take up from there. So guys, please, let's just hold on just a bit. Let's be patient. Let's hear from Winnie. Let's interact with each other. Let's listen and learn. So at this moment, I'd like to invite Winnie to come and talk to us and tell us what she has for us. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Isaac. Okay, Winnie?
Thank you so much, Glad. And I would first of all want to thank Dr. Isaac for giving us an insight from the medical perspective. My name is Nawida Winnie Chirago, and a student mental health counseling psychologist at Uganda Matters University. I'm a finalist student, and when Emma invited me to talk about suicide, I had to put in mind what am I going to talk about. And I'm very glad that yesterday we had the the Suicide Awareness Day, and a lot was said. Many people have been sensitized about suicide, and these things have been happening in our communities, in our circles, and some of which we really ignore. But hopefully after every day that we really come together and talk about suicide awareness, hopefully it will never go to waste again. Most of the things actually Dr. Isaac has really talked about them, but I think what I can throw more light on, probably I'll be talking in the psychology, in the social perspective of each and everything, because almost we had the same things to talk about. But the explanations might differ. I'll be talking in the psychologist's perspective. First of all, with a winding on Dr. Isaac's submission, I always have a word that I normally start with, that when you feel like giving up, just remember the reason why you held on for so long. So when you have that reason for holding on for so long, probably when you reach at a time of giving up, of course, you think about, there are so many people that, for example, let's take for parents, like a mother, and she wants to move away from home, from marriage, and then when she thinks about the children, she's like, I'll stay for the sake of my children. So this is the same case with suicide. Of course, it may not have happened on that very day or just the day before, but you may have had these reasons way back. And whenever you thought about them, there is always that one thing that holds you up, and it's like, it's not yet the time for you to give up. So I just encourage us that we should always remember the reason as why we held on for so long, even if it is not giving up on life or giving up on something that we really want. Just always remember the reason as why you've held on for so long. Doctor talked about a number of things, and I can also talk about the methods of how do people commit suicide? Some of people hang themselves. Some of them take overdose of medication. Some of them cut themselves. Of course, I've had a friend of mine. She was stressed, and probably there were relationship issues, and she had to cut her vein on the arm. So by the time we reached to take her to hospital, of course, she was nearly losing her life. And she had to isolate herself, went to an isolated area, and then that's where she wanted to commit suicide from. Lucky enough, there was someone that was passing on that isolated road and saw her, and she knew her. And the person also knew me. He had to call me and told me, Winnie, here is your friend, but this is what is happening. I've rushed her to hospital. Probably you can inform her family and you can find us there. So a number of things can lead to suicidal ideations. And then others can do the suffocation bit of it. Some of them take poison. And recently I was handling a case of a young girl. She first attempted suicide when she was 7 years old. The next time she attempted suicide was when she was 10 years old. And then the third time she was 13 years old. And what was the reason behind this young girl's suicidal temptation? Like the family dysfunction, because her parents would always quarrel, would always speak ill about themselves. Parents would use very sharp words. And so this girl, being the firstborn of the three, like she used to feel so bad when her siblings had to listen to what her parents would always be quarreling about. What she used to do was, whenever the parents would start quarreling, she would call her siblings, they close themselves in the room, and then they put on loud music. So this girl got into depression. So like what the parents did when they discovered that, they had to take her to the boarding school, and that wasn't the solution. Even at school, that's when she attempted the third time to commit suicide. And then when they asked her, she was like, I don't know what my siblings are on. No one would take care of them. My parents are just so careless. All they care about is quarreling. And then the worst bit of it is that if one of the parents was taking the kids to school, if it was a mother, the mom would only talk about how bad their father is. And then when it is the dad taking the children to school, he would always talk about how bad the mother is. So like you could see the mental health of these kids, it was just distorted, and it was really affecting the elder daughter. So like, where is this bringing us? That is like what causes suicide among youth. Of course, depression, as doctors say, depression is the leading. And when you want to know that a person is depressed, first of all, one of the very, very, very things to look at is the suicidal ideation. And people will have statements. They would give verbal warnings like, I wish I wasn't alive. I think this so and so would do better without me. They have statements that they always use, and most of the times that we get to reflect on these statements after a person is gone. Like you may be there and then someone dies, and then you're like, we were with this person the other day and this person was talking about this and this. This person was talking about this and this. Not knowing that those are the signs. So like, I just want to urge us, like, we need to always pay attention. You know, as psychologists, as counselors, what we are always trying to do, like, we need to always listen to the non-verbal communication. when you're seated with a person in a session, this client of yours may be telling you a lot of things, but then when you observe the nonverbal bit of it, you may see that it is just differing from the verbal bit of it. The person, like our bodies can communicate. You can communicate verbally, but then also the body can communicate something different. So like a person can tell you, I'm happy. But then when you look at this person, you observe the person is not happy at all, doesn't show any sign of happiness. So like we really need to pay attention, be you a counselor, be you a psychologist, be you in our capacities, our professional capacities, we all have the ability to observe the non-verbal communications, even us ourselves. You know, there is a time when you told someone that I'm fine, but your body was saying something else. And so among the youth, there is the failed intimate relationships. We've had, at least in Uganda, the most recent suicide cases we've had. Of course, they've been among the university students. And then when you follow up most of them, it has been either an intimate relationship, and yeah, people feel they are left out. People feel they are not loved enough, and people are always yearning for love. And probably when we trace back, it may be some unresolved childhood issues. You know, we grow up and then we have those childhood memories that we are not resolved. We were hurt as children, and then we've grown up with that rage inside us. Probably there is that gap. You grew up from a family where you're not loved, and then you grow up with this thing, and then for you think that it is always to fight for something. If you're not loved, if someone shows you this, that means you're rejected. People have fear of rejection. So these failed intimate relationships have really caused a number of suicide cases in Africa and among youth. And then we have the demoralized affirmations. Yeah, me or you, we have demoralized someone. We have affirmed something bad. Probably you tell someone you are ugly, and then this person will take this thing at heart, and in one way or the other, it will keep on growing, and then someone else will say the same thing that you said. Probably you didn't even mean it, but because probably this person has been hearing these demoralized affirmations from different kinds of people, then this person will be like, probably, like, for me to escape this, let me take poison, let me do this, and the person will end their lives. We've had parents and that telling kids, you're stupid, and then one of the kids, one time, there was a parent that was telling the child that you are just a mite, like a dead body in my house. So like the girl was just so rebellious at home, so they called me. I went. The girl asked me one question. Musao, it means like health worker. So Musao is in Luganda. So she was like, can a dead body do anything at home? Then I was like, no. Of course, if it is a dead body, of course the dead bodies are buried. Then she was like, probably they should also bury me. I was like, why? Why would they bury you? She told me that, of course, yeah, mom always calls me a dead body. And then if I refuse to do things, how should she even expect me to do such things if I'm a dead body? So like the language that we use, those demoralized affirmations that we use on children, you can tell them as kids, but then they just follow them up. They just haunt them while they are growing up in their youthful age, and then even at time when a person reaches a time of having their own families, and these people are still affected, they are still hurt by these affirmations that were made on them. I won't talk about the addiction bit of it. Doctor talked about it. The family history of suicide. doctor talked about it. And then we have the sexual abuse. Sexual abuse, especially from relatives and authority. And then when I talk about from relatives and authority, like sometimes our families, our cultures have made a big deal of suicide. Like a girl is raped, for example, by an uncle or a father, and then the family members would say, "You have to keep quiet. You have to keep quiet. Don't even let anyone know about this. Our family will get ashamed in the community." And then because this girl is dying of the pain, the girl will not have any other option apart from committing suicide. Some of them will run away from home. If they really love their lives, someone will just run away from home and not commit suicide. But we've had cases of those girls that have committed suicide. And then sexual abuse from the authority. Like you at a workplace, these days workplaces have become really so insecure for women, and even men are actually harassed, sexually harassed, but because of the way they are brought up, culturally brought up, a man, you have to be a man. That's why you see that men are at a higher risk of committing suicide than women, because men rarely bring out their emotions, but women are emotional. They are emotional beings, and that is natural of them. So like a woman can cry about something, she will talk about it, and probably that will lessen the risk of committing suicide. But a man will keep quiet because in him he's saying, "I'm a man." They are brought up like men don't cry, men don't do this, men don't do this, men don't do this. So like as future parents, if there are parents here, we need to always bring up our children. Like just tell them it is okay to cry. It is fine to cry. Like you have to let out some emotions. But the more you collective emotions you have, the more prone to suicide it may become. So doctor has showed us the statistics, talked about the statistics of men committing suicide and women committing suicide. Why is it higher in men? It's because men hide emotions. Even something that you would see that this thing has really hurt him, the man will just keep quiet. Just for the sake of being a man and preserving that manship, the person will not let out the emotions. And this is really affecting men. It is affecting them. But I just want to encourage each and every man that is on this call today. It is okay. Like it is fine to cry. It is not a crime for you to cry. We've seen even those that cry tears of joy. But even in sorrow, it is okay to cry. Probably this can help us reduce the suicide levels among men. Then chronic illnesses, especially those that are probably someone was born with such an illness, like sickle cells, HIV. I've worked with HIV children, adolescents, and like the child tells you, "Me, I'm tired of taking these pills. I even don't know, my parents don't know why I am the one taking the pills. Why is it me? I wish I can die. I saw the other person knocked down and I wished I was the one." So like some of them refuse even to take these pills so that they quicken their way to death. So like it is just a struggle to talk to these kids. Like it is fine. It is not the end of the world. And then we have the scary and unbearable consequences from wrong habits. And this can be like from the lady's perspective, someone getting pregnant. Back in the days, we knew girls that used to get pregnant when they are not married, what they used to do to them. At least in Uganda, there is one of the waterfalls where it is called Chisizi Falls. They would stand on the top of the mountain and then throw this girl down. So by the time actually this person falls down, there are these sharp rocks. Of course, the person, because of fright, the person have died already. So because this person is scared of such consequences, the person may fear. So she would be like, probably, let me take these pills instead of my parents, instead of the people in the community seeing that I'm pregnant. Of course, if I took this, it will help me so much and I will die. No one will know that I was pregnant. So the person is running away from the consequences, probably of death and shame. And then this person is taking it so quick and committing suicide. And I want us to talk also about the suicidal warnings. Like there are those warning signs, like I talked about someone doing the verbal communication. I wish I wasn't alive. They would do better without me. So there are warning signs. And these warning signs are the changes in behavior, feelings, and beliefs about self. And how can you know that these are really suicide warning signs? If they last for 2 or more weeks, that's when you can know that this is a real serious matter. So like we talk about ideation, probably let me share my screen. Let me try to share my screen. Can you see my screen?
No, not yet.
Okay. So can you see it now? Hello?
No, not yet.
Not
Not yet.
Sorry. Maybe technology has really failed, but it's just an abbreviation. It's path worm. So the I stands for ideation, that is the thoughts of suicide, and then the S stands for substance use, and that is the increased use of alcohol or other drugs, and then the P stands for purposelessness. Like, why would someone commit suicide? Because this person is seeing no reason for living. Someone was talking about asking about anxiety. Of course, like if you are anxious about how things are going to be, what are the consequences that I'm going to get, and this anxiousness can bring about, you can get nightmares, agitation, and hence a person can just decide to commit suicide. And then sometimes a person may feel trapped and feeling as though there is no way out. My dear friends, there is always a way out. Because even when we are in classes, they give us exams. Of course, the person that has given the exam has an answer sheet. So there is always a way out. Feeling hopeless about oneself and others, or even at the future. Like, why would you think about what is across the bridge when you've not reached the bridge? Like, let's learn how to enjoy the moment, because when it passes, we are not going to find that same thing in the next time. So like a person withdrawing from friends, family, usual activities, society. So like if you are with a person that a person loves partying, and then you see this person no longer wants to party, this person, whenever you go there to visit, the person is hiding, the person is ignoring calls, like you need to pay another yarn. You're like, what is wrong with this person? Is there any problem? So like we need to be there for that person, because there is a possibility that this person is going through something that is really hard, and the only way out the person is thinking is committing suicide. These people are always angry. They are always having those feelings of rage, uncontrolled anger, seeking revenge. Like a person will seek revenge, then he's like, I'll go kill that person so that they also kill me. And then like someone will just go, we've heard about people burning houses. Yeah, the person is tired. The person has reached at the end of it all, of his world. The person is seeing no hope, no future. These people act without regard for consequences. Like the person is just tired. He's like, yeah, anyway, it is the end of me. After all, I see no future. I see no light. But there is always light at the end of the tunnel. They always have unstable moods. So like we need to always pay attention. That's why I was talking about paying attention to the non-verbal language. The non-verbal language speaks louder than the verbal language. The person speaks, but when you watch the body, of course, you learn a lot. So when we see these things, when we see these signs of suicide, when we see these causes of suicide, how can we try to prevent this? Like affirmation, have positive affirmation. Like if you've been telling a person that you are ugly, you are what, of course, sometimes people love when you tell a person that, why would you say such a thing? The person will say, but I'm telling the truth. Sometimes you don't know how that truth is going to affect someone. Try to always be positive. Try to have that positive affirmation. And then psychotherapy. There is no one in this world that doesn't need help. You can seek for help. I know some people will not do it voluntarily, but you have to help that person. Be the second person to help that person get help. If you see such signs that we've talked about, and there are so many signs that we may not have talked about today, but when you go and read and when you go and reflect, you've seen some signs. Like, take this person. There are a number of psychologists, counselors, psychiatrists that are ready, more than willing to help these people. And then we have to create awareness, sensitize about peer influence, because peer influence has also done a great deal. So like a person say peer influence, and then there is drug use. The people that this person spends time with, they also have a very, very, very great deal on how this person makes decisions. Let's create awareness and sensitize about peer influence. Like as parents, let parents give explanations on failed provisions. All mentors can also give explanations on failed provisions or status of people. Like if you cannot be like so and so, just accept your uniqueness as a person. Like each and everyone was created in a unique way. So let's encourage people to accept who they are, because it always begins with them. First of all, they need to love themselves, because you cannot give out what you don't have. If you have a failed relationship, you need love. But then you yourself, you're not showing yourself love. Why would you expect love from another person? You need to first love yourself, know what love is. If you love yourself enough, you will know. You'll be able to differentiate between love from the other person and not being loved. So like, let's love ourselves. Let's understand what love is. So like, if you really love yourself, would you kill yourself? Of course, no. If you really love yourself, would you do this? Would you harm yourself in such and such a way? You wouldn't. So like, let's love ourselves. Let's accept what we don't have at that moment, because in a moment to come, of course, we'll have such things. And empowerment of self-worth, like self-worth, that self-esteem. I know there are people that really make people feel small, but just learn to give a deaf ear to such things. Like, people will always be negative. People will always be people. We will have people in our circles that love us for who we are, and then we will have people that love us for what we have, and then we'll have those people that no matter what, they will never love us genuinely. So we always need to know that. And we need to know that probably that self-actualization bit of life, it is not just, you don't have to just create shortcuts for you to reach that self-actualization bit of it. There are steps one needs to follow. So if a person jumps other steps, of course, it will have a damage on one's life. That's when you will see people yearning to get things that they cannot get at that time. And then because they fail to get such and such a thing, a person will commit suicide for that. But if we learn to empower our self-worth, we shall be able to control this. And then with people that are parents, like, let's use the positive words. However, as a human being, as an individual, if you have the emotional intelligence, there are some protective factors that you as an individual can do with and help you throughout if you got the suicidal ideations. However, these protective factors cannot shield you from the risk if you are already actively suicidal. But they are very helpful in safety planning for you as an individual. And then these protective factors, one of them is emotional well-being and emotional intelligence. Adaptability. We need to adapt. Today you are here and everything is good. Tomorrow, things are going to change. You need to adapt with the situation. You need to be resilient. You need to have your own internal control of your environment. Like, let's not allow the environment to control us. Let's control the environment that we are in. It is the same thing with our thoughts. In mental health, we talk about the CBT therapy, that is the cognitive behavior therapy. Like, what we think affects what we do, and then it affects how we feel. So like, if you're thinking suicidal, that thought will send some signal to the body. Of course, the body will act differently. And then how are you going to feel? Of course, you will feel sad. Like, a person abuses you, like, you are stupid. If you take in that, yeah, I'm stupid. First of all, you are going to have a bad feeling. And then how is the body going to react? The action will be either you will cry, some will quarrel, some will fight. Like, each and everything has an effect. You think negatively, your body will be affected negatively. And then your action will also be negative. We need to have that strong problem-solving capacity. I know we cannot do it as individuals. Some of us, we are really weak at that, but we have those people that we look up to they can help us without that. So if there is a conflict, how are you going to resolve that conflict? Yes, you've had issues in your relationship, but is it killing yourself? Will it end it? Of course, no. You're going to kill yourself, but then the other person will just move on with their lives. But if they're empathetic enough, of course, it will also haunt them. So, like, empathetic enough, of course, it will also haunt them. So, like, sorry. So actually, like, the thing that was a one-person problem, for you've killed yourself, but then it is going to affect each and everyone that has been attached to you. So like, we need to always think, not only think about ourselves, but also think about others. And I just want to leave with us some quotes. First of all, like, when you look at a caterpillar, I just love the way the transitions happen in caterpillars. So when you look at the caterpillar, like, it thought the world was over. It became a butterfly. What does this mean? The moment you are ready to quit is usually the moment right before a miracle happens. Just don't give up. There are a number of people that are out there more than willing to help you. And I want to encourage us as a team that we need to work together to extend a helping hand so that valuable lives can be saved. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Winnie. We appreciate you for the informative conversation we've had. I don't know if we can take questions. I'd like to give Henry to take over a bit as we wind and close up. I don't know if we'll take questions, maybe one or two from the present members. Anybody with a question for Winnie?
Yes,
You can
please.
go ahead.
Thank you so much for that question. Yeah, me being a counselor actually doesn't mean that I can like I can solve each and every problem. Like, I also need to offload some things. So as a person, I have a personal counselor that I go and confide in. And then I also have a privilege that some of my family members, I have those that I can go share with. If I've really had a rough day, of course, at least there is always those two people that I tell. At least if it is not my mom that I call at give the first call, I'll give my uncle first call. And I'm like, you know what? It is this and this, and it is really hectic. But what I want to tell you that as a person, as a counselor, I also have a personal counselor because I know I can't do it alone. It just becomes too much. And being a counselor, you've had all these people come to you and they've confided in you. And sometimes we have that what we call the counter transference, and you imagine you yourself being that person, and it really affects you. So, like, if you don't have somewhere to offload this, it can actually cause a mental issue on you. So I also have a personal counselor, and then I have a supportive family that help me throughout those processes.
Tim, do you accept a little addition to the contributions, dear coordinator? Okay. Hello, Tim. I would like. Okay, I would like to add something. Thank you for the contributions, our panelists, and that was very insightful. I would like to add on to something. There's always a perspective that we forget. That is also another serious causal factor to society or provoking suicidal ideations. I'm privileged to have also been part of the counseling psychologist, science counseling psychology class. Now, there's what we call a spiritual component. We should not ignore that. There are some of the assessment tools that we assess the risk damage on a patient, on a client, and actually it is all over among the health practitioners, but also now we are privileged here. So now, when we are doing the assessment, we can just have a client and you see that there's repetitive suicidal occurrences. Interestingly, there are no chronic illnesses, there are no mental illnesses, there's nothing like that, but somehow there's a spark love in the family lineage that happens to go in that trend. So when you see that, that is a spiritual encounter. So when you're running an assessment, when you're trying to identify someone suicidal, you also try to dig in the background to see what is happening with this family's with this client's family, and then you'll be able to support out. At first, the first presenter said it is hard to identify someone with suicidal intentions. It is very true, but only those that have not presented themselves. But in most cases, suicidal faces are always vulnerable. They always speak about identifiers. They always speak about triggers that can help you understand this. So when you hear such a talk, don't take less attention to it. Just pay attention, and you might probe the client to get to understand, what do you mean when you're saying, what do you mean you're saying this? What is your intention? What is happening in your life? And also suicidal intentions. These people are already compromising the self-worth and actualization. Actualization is the full satisfaction or gratification, and someone would get fulfilled about doing something or becoming someone. So when you're asking them, you ask them privately or politely. This thing of like making jokes in a group or asking them, they feel more belittled and they close up the more. And so the next day, that's where you're going to find someone getting doing the suicide, and then you find them the next night or the next morning, and it you just talk like 6 hours past that moment, later at that moment or something like that. So that's the addition I wanted to add on. I appreciate so much Rotaract Club. Someone of the similar interest made me join. I'm not part of the Rotaract, but I appreciate the awareness you're creating and the empowerment you're giving to many people so that we see better health, especially mentally.
Wow, that was amazing, Stephen. Thank you so much. You know, we love people who, partner with us and, create that awareness. Thank you so much, Steve. Winnie, yes? Hello, Winnie?
Yes, please. Actually, I went off at some point. I don't know whether someone was asking that I'm a counselor and everyone gets issues. How do I manage? I don't know whether you got my reply or I can. Okay. Okay, thank
Madam
you.
Presiding President, can I say something? Thank you very much. I am Timothy, Ronald Timothy Tebasu Bukela, immediate past president for the Rotary Club of Masaka. I'm really glad and humbled to have been part of this conversation from our two speakers. Mental health is a very, very pertinent issue when it comes to our daily lives. And I can imagine, like, throughout my regime as a president, we didn't get a guest speaker to talk about mental health. Yet it's really a very key factor. Imagine what we passed through during COVID while we were locked in our houses. We realized that really our mental health was so very affected. And also the way we people live our daily lives, especially. I'm an urgent user of this application called Twitter. And there's this common, am I audible enough?
Yes, please.
Yeah,
Yes, you are.
I was talking about Twitter. I'm a frequent user of Twitter, and there is this frequent banter that goes on. I don't know why we people are using that application. We love banter. We like trolling each other. We like playing around people's insecurities. We talk about people's body sizes. We talk about very different things concerning people's lives. And maybe through doing that, we don't know that we are triggering insecurities in people. Maybe what we are, at the comfort of our keyboards, we are triggering suicides in people's lives just for fun or unknowingly or knowingly. I feel maybe us, the 27 people that are on this chat now, we might be, let us be the agents of change in the societies we live in if we are really to solve that problem of mental health, as our speakers have spoken. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Henry, you had told me you had something to say for the group. Henry?
Yes, I had something. I want to know if you can all hear me. Am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, so I'm Henry from the Rotaract Club of Udom, the University of Dodoma. I wish to share something. Some few days back, I posted something about what really might cause someone to start thinking of committing suicide in my WhatsApp status to see what other students are thinking about this issue, because we've had some cases, a lot of cases now in Tanzania, young people committing suicide. Then, especially in our university here, University of Dodoma, and most of the people gave their comments, and all of the responses I've got, they all go around this intimate relationship that people have around here. I still see this is really a problem among us, because I don't know what is lacking, but the relationships that people engage nowadays, I don't know to what extent do people go, but they really contribute in people thinking that the best way they can overcome the disadvantages they find is by committing suicide. Having all these relations in this alike, I had this question: what is the best approach, or what is the best mindset that people should have when engaging in relationship, so that cases of committing suicide that are caused by intimate relationships should reduce? We've had people being counseled, being advised, but I've found advices not working in such matters. From that perspective, it is my desire to know, because I have a lot of friends who are deeply immersed in relationship issues, that I even fear one day if anything occurs to these people, we're in the danger of losing very potential youths around here in Tanzania. And I'm sure this also occurs in so many other places in East Africa and all over the world when people get despised. As Dr. Ruge said, people hate being rejected. The pain of rejection sometimes leads to, and disappointments leads to people thinking and being convinced of committing suicide. But I want to also just to hear from this perspective of relationship, what should be the right mindset when we are approaching this kind of situation, relationship? I really wish to hear from the participants of this meeting.
I seek an opportunity. I am majoring into family, marriage, and family. And as a counseling psychologist, I've also done some practices, and this is not new to me. The best approach is to probe to understand what is the intention of these persons engaging into a relationship. Why this question? What happens is that most of the young girls, they are controlled. Okay, regardless, they are not helped so much during the adolescent time. Less awareness is given. No one explains to them that it's a normal response. What is told to them, they are told that you are ready. Given some faith perspectives and traditional perspectives, basically they raise girls to prepare them. Maybe if I've got your question right, it sounds like most of the girls are the ones who are great candidates in suicide, in committing suicide. Could that be our colleague? So most of them are prepared to be credible women married, credible women married when they have made it in life. And the best time for you to engage in a relationship to get hooked up well is at the university. So you find the vulnerable ones, especially the young ones, the ones who have just joined, are the greatest culprits, if I am not mistaken. They are greatest culprits because they are so anxious of what has been preached days after their life of campus. They want to settle. And they believe that settling, you settle with a credible, at campus there you find credible persons that will not play with you. Now, coincidentally, they engage with their fellow students, and at that moment, most of the boys are not ready. And if there are other men, some other men are dancing their frustrations from their marriages. They are running around, dishing money, everything, and then the girls get to find out it is actually not the first couple that they are enjoying, companion they are enjoying. And then it dawns on them in a nasty, dirty betrayal that they cannot stand. The way they respond is the way of ending their life because their dream has been shattered. That's what they see. So in case they come to you for help, you ask them, what is your intention? What do you see? Why did you choose to get related? And why this person? And then from their reasons, you can find a mixed fire. It might be a traditional bias, a religious bias, a peer bias. But most of them, in most cases, they are focused to get connected to that probable man. And then when they get connected, they find a man who is just wanting to enjoy the sexual flavor and maybe the touch of the breast and maybe the figure. Some of them are looking out for fame and popularity. Can you imagine? I am the one who hit the jackpot. I got the best of the girls on campus. That, and then the girls, it is not their intention. Sometimes these boys bet for these things, and then they get to realize when the boys are just playing around the game, or if not that they have gotten impregnated, they have impregnated the girls, and they're not ready to take the responsibility. They run away. The girls end up suicidal. If not that, there's unprotected sex. And then they get to find out, I am HIV positive. I have this kind of illness that I've contracted from as an STI. And then they cannot stand. All this can just be overwhelming. Now, all these reasons are many. The best approach is, so what is the problem? Why do you want to commit suicide? So, because of this man, why do you think he was the best, or why do you choose? Why did you choose to relate with him? And then you're going to find out the reasons, and from those reasons, you can help them better. Thank you, I'm done.
Thank you so much, Alan. And probably to add on that, like as people, as potential parents, or as parents that are here, sexual education, we really need to do that a lot because it will help. Some may think that it is not helpful, but it will be helpful because when a child is trained, when he or she is still young, they'll go with this knowledge and it will help them. And another thing, like people have to be open, and probably now that the person is already in the situation, like Henry was saying, yeah, person is at university. Of course, here as counselors, we can psychoeducate. We can psychoeducate to prepare this person his mind that if such a thing happens, at least this person has a way out. At least this person has an other option. You talked about advice, but in counseling, in psychology, we don't encourage. Actually, guidance is prohibited. For us, we help the process. Like you help to move with the person in the healing process. You don't guide the person because a time comes you've advised this person that do this. If that thing fails, it will be your fault as a counselor. It will be your fault. Like it or not, it will be your fault because it wasn't the other person's initiative in the first place. You advise the person. So like in counseling, it is a helping process. Like you move with this person, put the options on the table. Actually, you need to even ask this person because for us in counseling, we take this client as the person that knows, because this person knows how he or she is feeling, knows what he or she is going through, how hard it is for you. You are there to listen to this person. Ask this person, because what we are using here is the person-centered approach. Ask this client, so it is this and this, what do you think? The person will tell you this and this, because these people, if they are voluntary clients, the person will come with their own suggestions. Give room to this person to say it all. But you as a person, be an active listener. Pick out what you see that is not harmful for the person. Let the person know that these are not harmful, these are harmful. Table them up and help this person throughout these harmless suggestions. Ask the person, what do you think would be the best according to the situation you're going through? What would be the best at this moment? Of course, this person will tell you. Some will need a little bit push, but please, you don't need to advise, because time will come and it will be your fault. Help the person go through the process, the situation. Be there for this person. If the person needs a shoulder to lean on, be that shoulder. But please, you don't need to advise on what this person should do, because that is you advising, and probably that is you. If it was you in that situation, you would do that and it would work very well for you. But probably the situation of this person, that isn't the best thing for the person to do. You need to table things, help this person go through that process. be there and help this person make the right decision. Like, help this person make the right decision, but don't decide for the person, because he or she knows how deep, how painful, how soft, how hard what he or she is going through is. You cannot measure that. It is only this person that is in that situation and knows the gravity of it. Like I just repeat it, help this person make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you for the good advice, Madam Winnie, and all the people that contributed. I am well helped by the opinions and everything that you guys have presented. It's been a very thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for taking your time. We really appreciate all of you for your support in this mental awareness month. So I think CP Henry, you can wind up a bit. I'm a bit caught up with something, but I'm listening to you guys. Thank you.
Okay, as we're going to end up this fellowship, I am sure most of us have some things to contribute, but I would like for these last few minutes to welcome the president of Rotaract Club of Udom Youth. We have some few videos that some of the members shared. We wish to preview these videos together with all other participants. So Ima for Akio, if you can hear me, we would like to preview to view the videos that were sent by the members, the few videos that we have. Then from there we can wind up if the videos are ready. Ima, can we hear from you? Yes. Can we have the videos being played at least as we wind up the session? If we can share.
Happy World Suicide Prevention Day. Some days are better than others, and it's okay not to have everything figured out, but be strong. I'm proud of you, and keep going. You got this.
Napenda kushare umuhimu wa maisha tukiwa tunaelekea katika siku ya kimataifa ya kuprevent suicide. Umuhimu wa maisha kwa kijana au kwa mtu yoyote ni anaweza kuleta mabadiliko mbalimbali katika jamii yake inayomzunguka. Pia tuwe tuna tabia ya kuweza kushare matatizo yanayotukumba ili kuweza kupunguza magonjwa ya afya ya akili ambayo yanaweza kutupelekea kujiua au kufanya kitu ambacho hatutarajia kukifanya.
Beautiful people, my name is Paris, the president-elect of the Rotaract Club of Gashie. September is National Suicide Prevention Month. If you're out there, you're feeling a little lost or broken and it feels like all hope is gone, I am here to let you know that you are brave for not giving up. You were enough, you are loved, and you are not alone. We are here to listen.
Before you think of killing yourself,
You're thinking about killing yourself.
we're here to listen.
Just now we're here to listen.
Okay, thank you very much, Emmanuel, for sharing the videos. Of course, we had a very simple challenge toward this, the World Suicide Prevention Day, so that we can encourage and mobilize all youth around our communities to be aware of the consequences, the causes, and the best ways we can prevent suicide among us. As we see nowadays, this has been a common case that has been taking away a lot of potential people around our communities. And so we are very glad having you all around. Every presentation that has been presented today from Dr. Isaac and Madam Winnie, it was very nice hearing from you and all those who contributed. We are very glad that this has been so successful. We have learned a lot, and this should be just the beginning of us cooperating in eradicating and mitigating the challenges that we are facing. Let us make sure that as we go, everything that has been presented today, we can be grateful by keeping everything that has been presented in practice and make sure that suicide stops at all costs. Whenever we see there is a chance that we can help someone from committing suicide or bad mentality concerning suicide, we should step up. We're also thankful for everyone that has participated, those who are not Rotaractors but have decided to be part of this fellowship. We welcome you in the coming fellowships when we are very glad for you to be here. So thank you guys and have a very wonderful moment. I'm welcoming Glad if you have anything to say. Glad wherever you are.
Yes, I'm Kelvin, Rotaract Club of Embakasi. I just have an announcement to make. We are having our charter party next month. All of you are invited. It will be on venue Utawala, Duets for Four Seasons Hotel. Charges Rotaractors 1500, Rotarians 2000. Dress code is all black and denim jacket, blue denim jacket. That's all. That's the information I want to pass around. Thank you.
Very much, Kelvin, for a very good announcement, and it is very beneficial for those who chose to stay to the last minute. We are very glad that we have had this, and for those who can make it, please, all of us who think that we can take part in that wonderful party so that we can get together as Rotaractors. Thank you for the wonderful invitation, Kelvin.
Hello.
Yes, Joyce Muranga.
Yes, I'm trying to get that's Kaimonji to raise my hand. Sorry for that. I wanted just to invite you guys. We have a cleanup on World's Cleanup Day. That is on 17th here in Kenya at Kikuyu. But basically, I can really wish wherever anyone is or wherever anyone has a club within their own locality, they can have such an event where they embrace having a clean environment among their own self. But overall, we really welcome you guys. You come. It will be held at Kikuyu Town from 8 a.m. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Okay, play poem. We are here to listen, then we wind up.
Story. It's about a girl who was miserable in college. She had good enough grades. No, that was not the problem. She had simply had enough. It was her social life and thinking about the future that left her feeling overwhelmed and hopeless. Despite her being a nice person, she was constantly jeered at and mocked by her peers. You see, she was different in her own way. She had her own way of seeing the world, which she openly shared with people. But she was beat down for it. She tried to shake them off initially, but it got to a point where it became too much. She had no future, as her professor told her and reminded her constantly. She was a disappointment, as her parents' unapproving glare clearly told her. She wasn't worth a single person's time of day, as her classmates and peers' avoidance showed her. At least she can paint her heart out. This one single thought was the only Hail Mary in her life, her own outlet. But after a point, even that couldn't help her. She had enough. She was determined to find a way out of her miserable life, a solution, a permanent solution. She was going to end it all. The relief of life being over had her excited, more than anything had excited her for so long. With a plan of how she was going to do it, she went home and took the pills she bought OTC at the pharmacy she always walked past. And soon enough, she felt it, a drownness that was promising her it would all be over soon. Was this it? She thought as she was seeing lights in the distance. But the light kept growing and growing. It wasn't heaven's pillars, white gates. She was seeing, you see? It was the fluorescent light at the hospital she had been rushed to after her family found her lying in her bedroom, unconscious. Disappointed doesn't even describe how she felt. A few months went by and she finished college, started her own painting and make it a living out of it. And now she's even hosting her own show next week. She's so glad, and her plans of ending her life has failed miserably. You are still wondering how I know all this story. You know, I am her. I am the girl in the story. I'm telling you this. I've been in your shoes, and I know how it feels. Life is hard. It can be bleak, but it will pass. And the thing that you are supposed to remind yourself every day is this world is beautiful with you in it. Your life matters. Thank you.
Inside, he said a word that people coughed, murmured, and whispered behind closed doors.
But that time is over now. It's our responsibility to create awareness and help those who are in pain.
Well, I think, Ima, you are done. Okay, thank you everyone for having participated in this wonderful fellowship. We welcome you to all of the other the coming fellowships. Please be ready to cooperate whenever we invite you. Welcome and thank you all. Thank you. Then I guess people can switch the camera for this last 2 minutes. We take the screenshot of the members who have attended, if you don't mind, guys. Ima. Yeah. All those who can. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, everyone. Hello and bye-bye. Hi. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye bye.